Please do whatever.
Is that okay?
You want to move this and move the bees over here?
Yes, I figure I was moved. These are just. Sure. We went right here. I'm used to standing in front of the table, so I might just.
Everybody else in here. And looking around this room.
Set it in the box.
Are you related to the folks that have bees around here? There's another family that has it.
Rather than Jen, Stroop.
Stroop. So, no, we aren't related to the Stroops, but we do know the Stroops, and Jake talks with them a lot, so we try to have our community of other beekeepers that we can talk with. So, okay, sorry, I have to get like set up. Okay, like I said, my name is Stephanie Pullen. My husband and I have been beekeepers for about 4 years. What got us into it was my father-in-law was a beekeeper in the late 80s and early 90s. And we had been reading about the shortage of honeybees and obviously how important honeybees and our other pollinators are to our world. And so we just dove right in, went and bought 20 hives, and you know, some people start out with 1 or 2. We thought we'll get 20. Let's see what we can do. You know, if some don't make it, then we'll have others, you know, to fall back on. But since then, it's been great. Our hives have now grown to several hundred beehives that we manage. We do have them spread across Hunt, Fannin, and Delta counties. So our boxes have I didn't bring a box with me, but they usually have a JP on them, and they're white. So if you see those boxes, those are our bees. But we feel like we are doing our part, helping raise strong hives and increase the honeybee population in the world. So I'm used to presenting in front of kids, and I was a teacher for 7 years. So
It won't be any different.
So anyways, so adults, you know, kind of feel a little nervous, but okay. But I thought I'd just share mostly what a day in our beekeeper life looks like, and talk to you about honeybees and how we manage them and what we look for and their health. So, and just maybe parts of the hive, and then what we do after we raise the bees and they're really strong, what we can do with the things that the bees make. So, as you can see, this is one of our beehives, and we usually check our hives about once a week, and then we rotate. So we'll check one bee yard that week, and then we probably won't come back and check it for several other weeks. So we'll go to the next bee yard and check those hives. So what is really important about honeybees is their gut health, and there are mites called varroa mites that are attacking the honeybee population, and they kind of latch onto the honeybee and kill the hive. So we really focus on that. For their gut health, we give them probiotics. Just like you would take probiotics, we give bees probiotics for their gut health, and it helps. My husband explains it is, you know, almost if they were to have a stomach bug, we're trying to prevent them getting sick, and so those probiotics really help improve their gut health. And then with mites, we can do different, I call them tests, to see if they have mites. You can use like a powdery substance and put them in the hive, and then you'll be able to see how many mites are in the hive. So we try to do that a couple of times a year, and we have definitely seen a major improvement in our bees' overall health and the sustainability of the hive by doing both of those things. So, but I'll kind of tell you what we go out there and do. So we obviously have to wear protective gear. So I talk to the children about this all the time. They really like this. But we just put on our bee suit, and this does protect you from getting stung. So it looks like it's pretty thin, but the bees actually cannot sting through this, and it's pretty breathable material. So we wear our jackets, And then you can get the full suit. We usually just go out there in jeans and boots. I usually wear my boots, but I have not been stung in the legs yet. So yes, yet I say. But anyways, we make sure we have our protective gear on, and then we also have leather gloves. You can see my gloves are really dirty from picking up the frames, but the gloves protect our fingers because they can't sting through the leather. So let me kind of pull out, I've got some pictures here to show you some different things that we look for.
What was the name of the mite?
I believe you pronounce it Varroa mite. V-A-R-R, Varroa mite.
I'll get it, I'll figure it
So
out.
yes, and I can say that for sure.
Google.
Google it, yes. Okay, so this is a picture of a beekeeper kind of pulling out the frame. So our boxes look like this, except they're white, and there are 10 frames in each box. And what we do is we pull out the frame, and especially right now in the spring, we want to make sure that we can find a queen. And the queen is the biggest bee in the hive. Okay, this is her right here. Now this bee is marked, so some beekeepers mark their bee. And what's interesting about the mark is the color is based on the year that queen hatched. So I have a brand new bee. The color is green on one of, actually she's in this hive. She's not up top, she's down there hopefully laying eggs. But that's a really neat fact about the dot. So if the beekeeper does in fact mark their queens, they'll know what year that queen hatched based on the color of the dot on her back.
Material that you use to mark?
Yeah, you get a selfie at Walmart or what?
No, it's just like a little, it almost looks like a pen. And you have to catch her and you just mark her on her back. It's very quick, very painless. I mean, it is very, 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 very quick.
And it stays on there.
And it stays on there. Yeah, it'll stay on there forever. So,
How do you go about catching a queen?
how do you go about catching a queen?
You can whistle for him.
Very carefully.
Man, you already know.
No. Well, you have to find her.
Oh, yeah.
You have to find her first. And there are special small cages that, that you can catch her. I mean, it's literally, you can pick her up and put her into the cage. So you
How
just
easy is it to identify? Like, they're bigger, but you're
Sure.
talking like
No, that's a great
fraction
question.
of
No, it's a great question. My husband is really quick at it. I still have to, it takes me a little bit, but once you familiarize yourself with the hive, you'll know the drones are bigger too. They're not as big as the queen, but you can tell the difference between a worker bee, a drone, and a queen. So it's just, the more you're experienced and the more you see it,
Sure.
the more familiar you'll get. So, but that's the first thing. We want to see if the queen is in there, and if it's a queenless hive, then we'll want to requeen that hive, because the drones can lay eggs, okay? But we don't want any drone brood. We'd much rather have the eggs that the queen lays. And you can see this frame, most of all of that in the middle is all brood that the queen has laid. And they have capped it over with wax. And pretty soon, new bees will hatch out of those cells. On the sides, you'll see this is capped honey. So you can see the differences. People will say, how do you know which one's filled with honey? How do you know which one is filled with bee larvae? But it looks completely different. So you guys are welcome to come up here in just a little bit, if you already haven't, and just see what the difference of the cells look like. So they use the honey, obviously, for themselves too. So they do produce honey, but they need honey as well, and then they need pollen. And so the pollen is their protein, and the honey would be more like their carbs and sugar. So yes.
Are the drones female?
The drones are only male.
They're only male.
Only male.
But they can lay eggs.
They can lay eggs.
Oh, can
They can. Let me see, I don't think I
I'm
have.
gonna need more than a rotor.
Okay, here's a good picture of a queen. See how she has a long body? Like I said, once you get in there, you can see, and this part of her back is usually darker, and it's bigger these are more hairy almost, and she has a very long body. So it's really, really interesting. I wish she was up here, but there's an excluder, so she can't get up here. So.
If the drones are males and they lay
Yes.
eggs, do they hatch?
Yes, so the eggs will hatch,
Okay.
just like the queen larva does.
Okay.
So, but exactly. So we
So
want,
it'll be more drones.
right. What's interesting about a beehive is in the winter, the queen doesn't lay eggs. So when they're getting ready for the cooler season, they will kick all of the drones out of the hive.
Who does that?
The bees do. They will literally drag all of the drones out of the hive.
I thought the drone was a bee.
It is, but they will take the drones, the worker bees
Kick
will kick the drone bees out. So in the winter, there's only females in that hive.
So it's like Hatfields and McCoys going on during that time?
That's right. So, and the queen in the spring will lay new eggs.
I want to be a worker bee.
yeah, you don't want to be a drone in the winter. But the bees, they'll do that, and she'll lay new eggs in the spring, and therefore making new drones.
So do those drones die necessarily when they're kicked out?
Unfortunately,
They don't
they
have
do,
any-
because no other hives will let them in. So,
Yeah.
yes.
We need a support group for those drones.
Which bees collect the pollen? So they each have different. They each have different assignments or job duties based on their age. So it's really neat, and I actually have a good infographic on Facebook about this. But their first couple of days of life are to care for the other brood in the hive. So any other brood that's in there, their job is to take care of that. All the larvae. So that's what they do. They're nurse bees.
The new ones.
The new ones, yes. So, and then it progresses from there, and eventually they will be the bees that fly off to get the pollen and the nectar.
But the new ones can't be a drone, correct?
Yes, they still can.
So
Yes.
they are born to protect the older ones, but then they get kicked to the curb later on.
Eventually.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
They are.
You need to be married.
Didn't make your work of
You'd understand this.
You see how I told you it would be no different than the kids?
I love it. No, I love it. So,
How many bees are in that?
how many bees are in this? So we just split this hive, but there can be about 50,000 or more bees in one hive. So this is probably on the smaller side because we just split it. They get too big for their boxes, so you either have to add another box on the hive, or you can split it. And so we just split this one and just put this one back in my observation hive. So, but there are several thousands of bees per hive. So yeah, it's really interesting.
Something like it.
I'm curious about the
Yes.
bees, I mean, the queen bees.
Yes.
How are they generated? Are there more than one queen bee?
So if the hive is queenless, but there is brood, they will make their own queen. So yes, they will feed it royal jelly. Each bee gets fed royal jelly up to a certain point, and then once they choose who the queen is, she will get fed royal jelly her whole life. And that's the queen. Now, if it's queenless and there's not any brood, then you have to requeen the hive. So you can graft your own queen cells, which can be a lot of work, but you can graft your own queen cells and put the cells in the hive, or you can buy queens that are already hatched and mated. So there's just some different options. So yeah, you can buy a full-blown queen ready to go.
And they will.
And that you put it, yes, you put the little trap that she's in,
Sure.
in the hive for just a little bit, so they can get used to her scent.
Automatically accept.
Right. Well, they have to get used to her, so you don't want to let her out right away.
Sure.
But then, yeah, as soon as they're just give them a little bit, they'll get used to her scent. And usually, there's a couple of nurse bees in there with her. They get the water and give it to her, so it's crazy. They take good care of that queen. You know, there's only one in the whole hive. They took good care of her. But yeah, and then you can release her into the hive after a little bit because they'll be used to her.
That's something like a mail order bride.
That's very similar to that. Yes.
Now
Yes,
tell me,
sir.
how do you start a hive.
How do you start a hive?
Yeah, you have
Just take a
a
drone.
box and you start.
Yes, so
I'm sorry?
they're called nukes, nucleus. I call them a hive starter kit, is what I like to call them. But it's usually 3 to 4 frames of bees, and in those frames are 2 frames of brood that the queen has laid, and 1 frame of honey and a queen. So you have to start with that, and then it'll grow into a full hive. And so when we get our bees, we do send our bees to California for almond pollination. And when we get our bees back, they're usually pretty healthy. They've been on the almonds. We split them, and then we will take 1 queen with that hive, and we'll have to requeen that other split. So it's almost taking 1 hive down to 2 smaller ones. And that's really what you start with. And the box is about this size. It doesn't have this top part, but and it's only got 4 or 5 frames in it. So
How long is the life cycle? Once you get the box and you get the queen and you get your starter kit,
yes.
how long does that queen last?
So the queen can live up to several years. Yes, the queen can live a few years. You do want to check her each year for the brood pattern. If she has slowed down on laying eggs, you will probably want to requeen her. And we might put her with a different hive, so we don't you don't want to kill the queen bee, but you'll just requeen that hive, and then maybe just kind of move the queen around.
But the drones die every year.
Every year.
Those are the males.
Yes. I know.
So what about the worker bees? Are they male?
They're not.
Are they unisex or sexless?
They're female. So in the winter, the hives are only females.
Cut up, Gus.
No, I promise.
How is that a mirror to your life?
Yes. So, he just made me think of something.
We didn't make the
Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. No, the nucleus. Do what?
You sell the honey?
So yes, we do. Once our hives are strong, and if we have needed to, the probiotic and any type of mite treatment, we will then extract the honey, but we only extract just some of it because we want to leave some of it also in there for them because they need that to survive. And they worked really hard for it. So 1 bee in their lifetime, I believe, usually only makes 1 teaspoon of honey. So we really look at the honey as very precious. Because
you sell the honey?
We actually sell our honey now in all Fix and Feed locations, Mugs on the Square, Greenville Hardware, and the shop. And then we have it at a fruit stand in Cumbie, Casey's Corner. The shop, Hometown Vintage Market off of Live Oak. They're about to move downtown. So yes, they're about to move downtown. So yes, we had to, in order to sell our honey to wholesale to other retail stores, we did have to get our food manufacturer's license in order to do that. And so we had to go through that program and get our food manager certificate. And we had to bottle it in a commercial kitchen. So under the cottage food law, beekeepers can sell their honey, but they have to sell it directly, or a family member can sell it. So they can go to like a farmer's market or a vendor event. But if you want to get your honey out in retail stores, then you have to go through the state to get a food manufacturing license. And so we did that last year, so that way we could, we did have a great honey crop, and felt that since our hives are growing really well and healthy, that we would do that because we had so much honey. So, and I'll actually show you guys, I have the kit that I really enjoy showing this to the kiddos. So we, you can see these are all made by the same bees, these honey bottles, but you notice that they are all different colors, right? That is based upon what floral source they were working. So this is the color honey that they're making about right now, between here and there. This light honey, there's like a very short window to get that. And so we don't usually get a whole lot of that because we don't want to take it out too soon and leave the bees with little food. Most of our honey is about this color. And then they were on the cotton. So this is some clover honey, this is cotton honey. And then here is just a dark wildflower honey. This is from the fall. So
Is it
really,
any sweeter?
it does taste different. I thought when we first started that I would prefer this, the lighter honey. It's what I tasted first. And then when we extracted the darker honey for the first time last year, I really actually prefer the darker honey, and it's higher in antioxidants. I guess just what they work. But I try to read up on the different floral sources that they are on, and the wildflower honey, the darker honey, is actually higher in antioxidants. So, but it's all good. It's all healthy. We do not filter it, and it's completely raw. So there's nothing. We don't add anything to it. We don't filter it through a fine screen. So you could probably look and maybe see pieces of pollen. We do just get out the big wax pieces because we also render the beeswax, and that's what this is. I wish I would have brought some of what it looks like before. If you knew what it looked like before, you might not want to put any like lip balm or anything on your lips because it looks, but you might not really. But this is what it looks like after it's rendered. It's a really pretty golden color. In order to do this, we have to heat it. I made this one just in my crock pot because that was easy. I could just make that one real quick. But we use cheesecloth and a crock pot with a little bit of water, and you put the wax in, melt it down, and all the impurities stay on that cheesecloth. And then once it's completely melted, you just lift the cheesecloth right out.
And what do you do with that?
And we make beeswax products. So we use the wax to make lip balm. So I'll kind of pull out some of our products here.
You make them yourself?
We do, yes sir. We make them from start to finish. So we do the wax.
Yes.
We do the wax rendering. We take the wax after we've done the honey extraction, and we render the wax to make it clean. And then from there, I use our beeswax along with other natural products like sweet almond oil, coconut oil, and shea butter to make beeswax products.
Correct.
So we make lip balm.
You purchase those packages?
I just purchased the tubes, and I design the labels myself. And I mean, it's just like the lip balm you see in stores. So we make lip balm. We have sweet orange, peppermint, and vanilla. So we make 3 different flavors of lip balm. We make a really good hand salve. Anyways, and I can leave these out. You guys are welcome to look at them. This is really good, especially in the winter when you've got dry hands, feet, elbows. It's almost like the O'Keeffe's working hands for like cracked hands and feet. So we make the hand salve. We make lotion bars, just like lotion, but they're in a bar form. It's like a little bee. So I use molds to make the lotion bars, and you just rub those on your skin just like you would lotion. They're just not in a squeezable container. And then our most recent, this is the one that I was most excited about this spring, is an insect repellent bar. It looks very similar to that lotion bar, but this is a natural insect repellent. I use 3 different types of essential oils in this to naturally repel mosquitoes and other insects. And you just rub it like about 5 minutes before you go out. I use it. It's safe for children. I always say do a patch test because everybody has their skin sensitivity is different. But I use it on my own kids, and we use it before we go out in the ball fields or anytime we're gonna be outside. So
What's the name of that one?
this is it's called Don't Bug Me Beeswax Lotion Bar.
Can you pass it around?
Yes, of course, yes.
Where do we find those?
So these are at Mugs and there's something on it. Mugs, the shop, and Greenville Hardware.
Oh, not in Commerce?
Yes.
Yes, Mugs in Commerce, and the shop, Hometown Vintage Market in
But you
Commerce.
said Greenville Hardware.
And then the hardware store in Greenville. Yes, no, Fix and Feed has our lip balm and our honey. They have not started carrying our other beeswax products. So, yeah, go ahead.
I've heard a similar presentation, but they talked about a dance that they do when the bees go out.
Yes.
And come back.
And that they do a dance called the waggle dance.
Waggle.
The waggle dance.
The waggle dance. You
Yes.
can look at it on YouTube.
It's
right?
very neat, and you can actually see it. I mean, they're probably not
Waggle?
doing it in here because they've been cooped up all day in my office, but they do. They fly off.
What they do.
They find the nectar, the pollen source, and they come back to the hive, And in order to tell the other bees where to go, they do a waggle dance. And the way they dance tells the direction of where that pollen and nectar source is. It's very interesting, yeah. And they've done studies. The dances are all different based on what direction, what location the flowers and stuff are. So it's really, and you can actually, like I said, you can see it. I'll put this outside. Our kids love to watch the bees. And yeah, you can see them doing it up here in the frame if they've been able to fly around for the day. It's very neat. So, yes, the waggle dance. Let me see. I'm sure there's probably some other things.
Tell us about how you, how you decide where you send your, they pollinate cucumbers?
They pollinate, yes, they pollinate cucumbers, almonds, apples, oranges.
Because if you don't pollinate both sides of a cucumber, it goes crooked.
Oh, I have not heard that,
Somebody
but
told me that's how you make them straight, is pollinating.
both sides? I haven't heard that. So we plant clover at our house, or at our farm, so they can work the clover. But we send them to Oklahoma to also work different clover crops there. We don't send all of them because we do have to keep several hives here to make the beeswax and the local honey, because that's what's good about honey is if you get it really locally, it's good for your allergies.
Yes.
And then we also send it to California for the almond pollination, but they're good for like pumpkins. So if you have your own garden, you might look into just getting maybe one hive to help pollinate your garden. We actually had 2 hives over at the garden behind the Methodist church last year, and so we had some over there to help pollinate their garden. But they pollinate, I believe it's 80% of the crops. So they are so important.
I don't think people have any idea.
And I don't, exactly, and that's really one of the things that I've started to share several things on Facebook, because I just don't think people realize really how important not only bees, but just our pollinators in general are to us, to our existence, you know. So, but they also, I think I read that, and it was in West Texas, a watermelon farm was looking for honeybees. So farmers will put out that they are looking for 200 hives, you know, to help pollinate their crops.
And you charge them by the hive, I guess?
Yes. So you rent by the hive. Yeah. So.
How long do you send them to them for? I mean, how long do they need them?
So when we send them to California, they are there for about 8 weeks. So they're there for a little while. This past season, it rained and was actually a lot cooler in California than what we expected. So we got our bees back a couple weeks early. But most of the time, they're there for about 8 weeks. In Oklahoma, they'll probably be there about the same amount of time, maybe just about 6 weeks. But it is some summer clover that they'll work up there. And then the Dakotas have requested beehives. So.
Do they come get them? Are there people who transport? That's what they do?
Yeah, so like we usually ship our own. My father-in-law has his CDL, is that right? Right, CDL?
It's CDL.
Not, is that right, CDL?
Commercial driver's license.
So he can drive a truck. And then we also have just a close friend that's also a beekeeper that can drive a truck. And so normally we try to ship them ourselves, but we may have to pay somebody else to ship them. And yeah, we ship them up there, and usually my husband will go. So he went to California he beat the truck there to unload, so that way we know exactly where our hives are set down, and you know, we like to just know what's going on and be very active with our hives. And then my father-in-law will go out there about halfway in between, and then my husband will go back out there at the end to help load them up and make sure the truck makes it back home.
Is it
here.
an 18-wheeler?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huge truck. So, but yeah, they're shipped all over the place, and for that reason, to pollinate crops. So yes, yeah. I don't really know. I thought this is pretty interesting. This is the larva stages, so you can see how it starts, and then how it's all the way happy. So anyways, that's neat. It's really cool to be able to see them hatch out. So if you ever want to come observe the hive, just let me know. Yes, ma'am?
Just one quick thing.
Yes.
What do you do with them in the winter?
Well, so we winter our hives here in Texas. You can go winter them up north in temperature controlled spaces. And so we have looked into that as well, but right now we winter our own hives. So we just have to make sure it's that the hive is capped. So if there's some hives that are not full, we will try to combine those hives so that way they are close together and there are a lot of bees so they can produce a lot of heat and keep themselves alive
Do
and
they
warm.
naturally migrate? Is that the natural pattern?
To migrate?
Or is to migrate south for a bee, or what do they do in nature? I mean,
I really don't know. Honestly, I mean, our bees stay in the hive.
so that you don't do anything different. than what
So
you-
no, we might have to feed them. Obviously, we'll check them again. We'll do the mite treatment, and because the mite treatment is good to do when the brood is, I believe, lower, and so that way that queen that way they're going into spring healthy, and because the mites will get into the cells, and we don't want that, and so it's good there in the winter. They don't really like us to be in the hives in the winter because it's cold, so they're usually not very happy with us. But we will go in and we don't check them as often because the queen's not laying eggs in the winter. But we will check on them from time to time to make sure that they're healthy, and we'll check for mites and just make sure that.
Are you teaching your kids the business?
Yes, so our kids help out with every step of the way, down to our 4-year-old. So our son Ethan is about to be 13. He helps, they'll build the frames, put the frames in the boxes. He can wear the veil and get out there when we sell we sell nukes, and so when people are picking up their bees, their hives, he'll get out there and help them carry the nukes to the truck. Noah helps build. He's about to be 9. He helps build the frames and put the frames in the boxes. And then Charlotte tries to help with every step. She's 4, or about to be 4. She tries to help with everything. She's got her hand in most everything. But she really likes to put the labels on the honey. So I always tell people, if you get a bottle and the label is a little off, it's probably because my 4-year-old did it. But yeah, we bottle there at the kitchen, at the commercial kitchen, and so she'll come with us, and at the last little bit she'll help label. But yeah, it's a family business. My father-in-law is in it with us, so he's out there every day with the bees as well, and just trying to teach the kids the importance of the bees and the business that comes with it.
Where's your farm?
So our farm is out in Campbell. We have a little over 30 acres in Campbell, and then my husband's grandmother has a farm in Greenville, just 5 minutes from our house, and she has about 200 acres there. And so we have all of our bees spread out between us and her property and the property behind her. And then now that we've split the hives and built them up, now we'll be ready to take them to Oklahoma to work the cotton, just wherever we're going to take them. So.
Who are Zane and James?
Okay, that's a good question. Let me show you guys. This is our Zane and James apiary. So that's our logo. Those are our boys' middle names. So it's Ethan Zane and Noah James.
And how does Charlotte feel about this?
She doesn't know really yet. But I promise you, we have something planned to incorporate her name.
Queen
so.
Charlotte.
Sweet Charlotte, yes, exactly.
Oh, gosh.
So we do have something planned for her, so that way she'll have part of it.
Apiary?
Apiary.
That's the name of a bee
Like,
industry?
yes, apiary. So a bee farm. So yeah.
You have
Any
a
other?
website?
We do. So we mostly use our Facebook page, but I do have a website as well. I brought some business cards for you guys. Sorry, there they are.
Be around, sir.
And you guys want to? I'll just let y'all can all have one. You can pass them around if you'd like. But we have a website. On there is our Facebook page because I use that for most all communication, and I do post a lot of facts about honeybees. I'll post pictures that we caught 2 swarms recently, so I posted pictures of us rehoming those swarms.
What is that? Catching a swarm?
Yes, so like there was a swarm on a piece of like hardy board. It just had it was just like a cluster. It looks like this. Let me show you. It is just a cluster of bees, and they are protecting the queen. So the queen is in there. They're protecting the queen. So if you see a swarm, we usually only go get swarms that are outside right now. So we're working on getting, it's not really a license, but you have to take a class through the state to pretty much go into people's houses and take swarms. So if you see swarms outside though, we can come and get those and rehome them, but you'll have to check out our Facebook page because my husband kind of cuts one out of a tree. And then I had one on just this big long board, and I just held it up and just tapped it into the box. And as long as the queen makes it in there, they will follow. So it'd be the straggler, whatever
There's
gets
a
going.
big push now. We had a huge hive in the eve of our funeral home, and they encouraged us strongly to rescue them.
Yes, to not kill them. No, with the honeybee shortage, yeah, we are big advocates of saving the bees if possible.
What is, I've seen like articles and documentaries about the bees are slowly becoming, or quickly actually becoming endangered.
Like endangered, yes.
What they don't really know what's causing that, right? Or,
So there's a colony collapse disorder, and they still really haven't pinpointed why they're just dying, or they're just disappearing. They're leaving their hive. They're just.
because essentially it would be you would go out to this hive and they'd all be gone.
And they'd all be gone.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, gone or dead, which the mites is a huge thing. And so if you can treat your hives correctly for mites and can't really prevent them, but at least slow them down and slow them from multiplying, then that's good because those mites will cause the whole colony to die. So, so yeah, they're super important. Y'all have any bee questions? Or if I said anything wrong, my husband will correct me when I get home, and I'll have to let y'all know. So,
How is he gonna know?
I don't know where the video.
YouTube it.
He's gonna put me on YouTube, so I'll have to show it to Jake, and he'll let me know.
So your smoke deal over there.
Yes, oh yes. See, I'm like,
Y'all feel free to leave if you need to.
this
I
you
can see.
put grass, hay, anything natural. We don't want to put anything with chemicals or anything in it, but you just light it on fire inside here, and it blows smoke through the top, and you literally just over the hive.
And that puts them to sleep, sort of.
It stuns them. It kind of confuses them long enough for us to get in there, pull a couple of frames out, look at them, check them, because that's our home. They really were invaders, you know, and so, but the smoke helps. So yeah, it's just like I said, grass or hay. Like last night we used just some hay, put it in there, and that allowed us just to check them just for a few minutes.
So I think that's her job, to blow the smoke out. And
Yes, I tell you what, she thinks every single part is her job. Yes. I guess being the baby and the only girl, she feels like she has to be right up there with everybody else, you know. So, yeah, she likes to help. She even had my gloves on. I just ordered a child's bee suit. It's probably going to be way too big, but I figure between all 3 of my kids, you know, they can each wear it when it's their turn to go out. But she has been, she was born when we first started, so she will be out there with bee boxes and not think twice about it. So it's natural to her, you know. So, but thank y'all for having me. No, do it.
As a rule, they don't sting just
No.
to sting.
They don't. They only sting when they feel threatened. And so that's why when people see swarms, they get really nervous, they get really scared. Really, that's when they're most vulnerable because they don't have a home. And so if you just kind of let them be, for lack of, I mean, they shouldn't sting you. Now, that's why I wear these gloves, because when we go into the hives, they will, I mean, they want to quote unquote attack, or they want to, you know, because they're protecting their hive. But yeah, no, naturally, if you leave them alone, they'll.
Because once they sting you, they die.
They do. So that's another thing. Like, that's why we use the smoke, because we'd rather us not get stung, because then They do. They fly off and die after they sting you. So, any other questions? I know it's kind of like all over the place, but I enjoyed it very much. And find us
Very interesting.
Find us on Facebook. I like to update there of what we're doing, where we're at. I'll put pictures of the kids out there if they're helping us. So we are truly family owned and operated every single step of the way. So